So welcome everybody. I appreciate everybody here, and I hope I don't trip over any chords here. So some of you know me really well, some of you never met me, but I'm Craig Hugert. A little bit about me. I'm an Alabama fan, so some of you, Roll Tide, yeah. I'm a health nut, and one of the things I find strangely comforting is picking my nose. So some of you may be like that. I don't know.
I didn't even know that.
But you don't know everything about me. So, one axiom that I will leave with you, it's not biblical, but I think it's valid, is you've probably heard this before. You can pick your friends, you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose. So just keep that in mind, okay? So our title tonight, as you can see, is 3 Secrets to Being Single and Satisfied. And it could just as easily be called 3 Secrets to Being Married and Satisfied. So I don't want to leave married people out, but you'll hear more about why this is close to my heart. So I do want to say up front, and some of you are single, you know this, there are some things that are just better when you're single. Like, I can be driving down the road and just decide, I want to eat there. I can just do that, right? I can go to the Galleria. I can go to one store, get what I want, and leave. It's possible. You can do these things. So one of the things that I'm going to do tonight is get some interaction from you guys. It'll be anonymous, but it'll be via text. So you people probably have your phones nearby. I see some of them, but if you don't, just go ahead and make sure you have your phone handy, because we'll get there in just a minute. So I have especially recently just realized the value of declaring things. And so I've got a declaration for us to make. Hey, I was going to say it was Jesus, but I think Jesus is already here. Okay. All right. So if you guys will say this with me, and this is kind of my intro prayer here, just doing this through declaration. Okay? So I have ears to hear, a heart to receive, and courage to act on all that God has for me today. I expect to hear an encouraging word that I can apply today. Okay? So I looked on YouTube and I said, what does the prevailing culture think about being single? And I found this video, and I may have to adjust the audio, so bear with me a little bit, so I'm going to play this.
My name's Ronnie. Maybe you're watching ingvid.com, or maybe you're watching me on YouTube. Thanks. Awesome. I have a question for you, though. How old are you? Yeah? Okay. Are you married? No. Do you have a problem with this? Because I know before I got married, I had no problem not being married, but other people did. For example, my friends who were married, maybe they were jealous. Other people who I worked with, and people who I generally met from day to day. So, today I've got a special lesson for you people who are not married. This lesson is called, "Oh my God, you're not married yet? What's wrong with her? What's wrong with him?" So
I think that is kind of the prevailing thing about being single in the culture. So here's how this works. So my name is Craig Hugert, CraigHuggart, and so it's, if you text to 22333 and you want to text Craig Hugert 054, okay? So can you see that?
Quick question. I am recording you. Is that? Are you doing it too?
I'm recording it too. Yeah.
Okay, then I will also.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So 22333 is the number, and it'll probably look a little funny on your phone. So 22333, and then what you want to text is Craig Hugert 054. And when you do that, you're going to get something back saying, "Hey, you joined Craig Hugert's meeting," or something like that. Anybody get that yet? Yes? Okay, we got one. All right, probably get more. So once you do that, Then here's the question. How many sermons on the value of singleness have you heard in the last 5 years? Okay? So you just do either A, B, or C, and then they'll start showing up. And like I said, it's anonymous. So, okay, we got one vote, it looks like. So we'll give this a little bit more time, see how those show up. Oh, okay, we're getting some more in. Anybody need the instructions again or not? Oh, it's called Poll Anywhere, or Poll Everywhere. And this is the free version. That's why it's Craig Hugert 054 instead of just Craig Hugert. Okay?
So we do Craig Hugert 054.
No, just the number to text to is 22333.
Oh, gotcha.
And then you text instead of like, hey, how are you? You text Craig Hugert 054. Okay. So we'll give this a little bit more, and then I'm going to move on to the next question. And if you didn't get in on this one, there'll be more questions later. So we'll give it a little bit more. So 36% 0, 1 to 5. And think about this. How many sermons on marriage have you heard in that same period of time? Oh, Lord. So that's the point. Okay, I'm going to move to the next question. So next question. Do you think you will spend more of your life married or single? So A or B, choices on that. Let's see how this turns. Don't you love this? Okay, so we'll give it a little bit more here. We'll see how that goes. Well, that single's going down. Let's be going back up. So this was a bit of a trick question, because if you think of your life in the light of eternity, we're all going to be single more than we were married, right? Because we're not married in heaven, right? Okay. So we're going to have more questions later, but I'm going to move on to the next slide here. Okay. So some of you know my story, some of you don't, but this date is a lot of why this is significant for me. Because February 28th, 2011, after 26 years of marriage and 5 wonderful children, we were divorced. And that was a really dark and hard time for me. But by God's grace, and with the help of some amazing friends, I got through it and really got healed from a lot of stuff. But that was a really tough time. And some of you in this room, I mean, odds are you've been divorced. You know, it's not fun for anybody. But fast forward, a few years after that, it was like, I'm ready to date again. And I remember I was in church, and I was like looking around going, that might be a good candidate there, you know? Oh, probably not her, but maybe her over there. But the Lord kind of intervened in that, because that was a Sunday. The very next night, Friday night, I heard a sermon from David Pawson, who's a prominent British theologian and pastor from IHOP, and he was talking about marriage and singleness. And I need a couple people to help me, because I've got handouts here. Anybody help me pass these out? Thank you. Get a couple people. And I've got some pens here. If anybody doesn't have a pen, you can give them pens too. Okay. So, this is not the main topic of this, but David Pawson's deal on divorce was, and I'll give you guys time, and I should have passed those out earlier, but I forgot. Thank you. Okay, everybody got a handout that wants one? Everybody got a pen that wants one? And by the way, those are the world's best pens, and they're cheap. Just saying. So, David's Pawson, you know, Sunday, I'm going, I'm ready to date again. Friday, hear this amazing message from David Pawson, and he said his question he asked is divorce after remarriage permissible? And his conclusion was no. And that's a small percentage of the body of Christ believes that, but a lot of people do. And I'm like, wow, I think the Lord may be speaking to me. And so I got his book on the subject, and I put that in the handout. And then I also shared it with a couple friends of mine that I really trust, that I feel like are Bible scholars, and they're like, yep, that's what it looks like to us too. So that's not the main topic, and for some of you, you're probably glad about that. But for me, that was a word from the Lord. So while my spouse is alive, I'm not free to remarry. So I'm like, I better get happy as a single person. So that's part of why I'm here. Now, fast forward to actually in the room just over there, I did a sozo session here. And one of the things that came out of that was a prophetic word. And that was just last month. And the prophetic word was, the time of grieving is over. And I really accepted that. And for me, I'm just way better now and just really feel like that season of life of going, I'm divorced, I'm broken, whatever, is over. So, all right. And your first fill in the blank there, so there's fill in the blanks is, so that your first one is, my position on divorce is no remarriage while your spouse is alive. Or something like that. I think y'all get the point. And there are some other people that hold that view. I'm not the only one on the planet. So, anyway. Okay.
So you're advocating killing?
Well, yeah. If this wasn't being recorded, I would probably make a comment on that. But I won't go there.
Camera.
It's only if you want to remarry. It's only if you want to remarry.
Then it's okay to kill.
Yeah, okay. Anyway. All right, so happiness is an inside job. That's your first takeaway. So imagine this. As we were trying to make our marriage work, of course, we went to marriage counseling. We went to a couple of them. Just a rule of thumb, and I can put this on the recording. If your marriage counselor has been divorced a couple times, it's probably not a good idea. Just saying. Anyway, so imagine this. We're in Homewood at a marriage counselor's office, and the marriage counselor says to my ex-wife, she says, so what do you think the root issue is? You don't make me happy. And I'm thinking, I'm not saying anything. I didn't say anything. But I was like, that's not my job to make you happy. And this is the thing, married or single, another person is really not going to make you happy. And if you think they are, it's just not going to work. Happiness is an inside job. And union with another person will never give you the satisfaction of union with Christ. And have you ever had this experience? You get this great revelation from the Lord, like you've been contending for this for 6 months, and you call up your best friend and they go, that's great. People don't get you like Jesus does. Alan Hood, I think he put it the best. He says, nobody gets you like Jesus does. I mean, the creator of the universe created you. That's where you need to look for satisfaction. So happiness is an inside job. All right. Couple of verses here. We want to make sure this is legal. So, Philippians chapter 4, awesome chapter. Couple of snippets from the chapter. Rejoice in the Lord always. Be anxious for nothing. And Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I know, I love Tim Tebow, and, he had it in his eye black. And, all kind of people, athletes, they look in the mirror. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But in context, what this means is you can be happy in any situation through Christ. That's what that means. And so happiness is an inside job. Number 2. Marriage can distract from happiness. Now, don't be a hater, you married people. But it can. Okay, so this scene never happened. That one with my ex-wife, that one really happened. But this scene that I'm about to act out, it hasn't happened. But I just want you to imagine this with me. So I have 2 wonderful daughters, 3 wonderful sons, and my daughter just got married in March, but this is not her. I'm making up another daughter, Karen, and her boyfriend, Carl. So she comes to me to talk to me about Carl, okay? So I'm in my dad chair. I have a lazy boy. Nobody else is supposed to sit in that chair, but everybody does, including the dog, but, you know. So anyway, so she comes to me. I'm sitting in my lazy boy. She's sitting over on the couch. So, Dad, can we talk about Carl? Sure. What do you want to talk about? Well, I think he's the one. So, well, you know, he's a nice guy, and wow, I know he's got a great job. You know, being a hand surgeon with Dr. Anderson's practice, it's pretty great. Why do you think he's the one? Well, you know, in addition to making good money, he is really cute. I mean, he is tall, dark, and handsome. And besides that, he loves Jesus. He just got back from Mozambique working with Heidi Baker. Wow, that's pretty impressive. How does he feel about you? Oh, Dad, he really likes me. He thinks you're okay, too. Well, that sounds great, but if you thought about what you could lose. What do you mean, Dad, lose? I mean, I'm in love. I'm almost 30. Well, think about this, though. I know that he's a wonderful guy. I know he's cute. Not like you know he's cute, but I know he's cute. But think, if you marry Carl, you are going to have a divided heart. You won't be just pleasing Jesus. You're going to be pleasing Carl and Jesus. And some of the dreams that you have, you're going to have to either just let them go or change them. You have a dream, I know, since you're a little girl, of living and working and being a missionary in China. You might just have to give that up. I know, Dad, but I'm in love and I'm ready to get married. Tell you what, let's do this. This is such a crucial decision. Let's you and I fast and pray for a couple of days, and I know God will speak to you. And if you decide at the end of that time that this is the time and this is the guy, I will bless you guys. Okay, Dad, sounds good. Love you. Love you too. Now, can you imagine? I mean, has anybody ever heard of anything like that? But that's the reality. That's the reality. Marriage can distract from happiness. 1 Corinthians 7, especially for you single people, this is the chapter, 1 Corinthians 7 on singleness. And Paul is speaking, and in verses 32 and 33 he says, "But I want you to be without care. He who is unmarried cares for the things of the world, how he may please the Lord. But he who is married cares about the things of the world, how he may please his wife." That's just a reality. Now think about this too. This is Paul the Apostle, arguably the one who made the most impact on the kingdom outside of Jesus. And he's saying, I wish all of you were single. And I'm thinking, how are we going to get kids? But, you know, anyway, he's going, you know. But
Jesus was going to that.
You had that figured
that's
out.
good. That's a good point. He thought, but he's just saying that you can be happier, you can be more effective single. Now, that being said, I think in the end, it's where are you least distracted. So if you're going to be more distracted that you're single, well, get married. But if you can be single, go for it. And I would say, too, on this note, if I had to do one thing over again in my marriage, when it was choosing between pleasing my wife and pleasing the Lord, I would have been a better leader. And I would say in your home, you know, choose to please the Lord. You got to please your spouse too, but you got to get that in the right order. Anyway, that was just for free. So, okay. Now, one thing that you may be thinking is, well, I'm single, but I don't have the gift of singleness. You know, the gift that nobody wants. You know, you take the spiritual gift inventory and you score a 0 on the gift of singleness. Well, look, I looked online and really looked at this and it's like, what about the gift of singleness? Because I don't think I have it. And unless, you know, something happens and my wife passes away, this is it, you know. Well, from what I found, the people that I trust the most, the gift of singleness, the quote, gift of singleness, is a myth. It really doesn't exist. I love what Tim Challies says. Tim Challies says, if you want to know if you have the gift of singleness, look at your hand. If you got a ring, you got the gift of marriage. No ring, you got the gift of singleness. Okay? Okay.
I learned early on in our relationship that women are complicated creatures, and once I accepted that, it made everything a lot easier for me. But I have found that because women are complicated, they like to think men are complicated too. You ever hear a group of women talking to each other? Ooh, I wish I knew what he was really thinking. Ladies, I will tell you what we're really thinking. We're really thinking, I'd like a beer and I'd like to see something naked.
So, I felt that way when I was married. I still feel that way. So, you know, there's not something that magically happens to you when you're single and God just pours out this grace and you don't have those thoughts, right? It just doesn't happen. So that was for free too. Okay. So takeaway number 3. And if you think that your spouse is not like that, you might want to ask them about it. Just saying. Okay, singleness is a gift from God. So singleness is a gift from God. Not the gift of singleness, but singleness is a gift from God. This is also in 1 Corinthians 7. But I say this as a concession, not as a commandment. For I wish that all men were even as myself, but each one has his own gift from God. So in context, that's saying being single is a gift from God, because there's just all kind of things that it's just easier when you're single, and you can do more for the kingdom. You know, there's a lot of things. So, another question here. This is not a trick question, and you should still be connected if you're connected before. So the question is, according to 1 Corinthians 7, singleness is better than marriage. So you got one of these scales here, A, B, C, or D, or E. Let's see. That's interesting how this is. Nobody's saying strongly disagree, so yeah. All right. Okay, so we'll give this just a little bit more if anybody wants to put in another one. Jumping around there. So at this point, we got 14% disagree, nobody strongly disagree, 43% in the middle, and then 29% agree, and 13 strongly agree. Somebody! It's kind of like one of those votes, you can't have a unanimous vote, right? Okay. Yeah. So this is just an open-ended question. So you're just typing in what you want to say here. And again, these are anonymous. What is better about singleness? So what can you just think for a minute? What's better about singleness? We'll see what things come up. And remember, you're going to be single in eternity. So, you know, no responses. Maybe it's just taking... Y'all may be one of these people that are doing like a whole paragraph. Less concerns and worries, more freedom, yeah. And these kind of scroll across here. Let's see what else we got. I think y'all like the short answers better. Power of choice. Yeah. Freedom! Focus on pleasing God. Oh, that's a good one. Not a spouse. Yeah. You know, this is one thing while these are kind of scrolling across here and y'all can kind of, you know, y'all are multitaskers, right? I have thought about why don't we value singleness more in the church, in the prevailing church culture. And I think part of it is a reaction to Catholicism. And so it's like the only way you can really be spiritual is to be single. And that's not right either, you know? And so I think as a Protestant church, that may be some of what's gone on as we've kind of reacted against that. My thinking is you should probably have lots of single people and lots of married people who are having lots of kids. That's what I'm thinking. All right. And I only had 5, you know, so. All right.
How astonishing, how bewildering. The ruler of the universe wants me, and he loves me. How astonishing, how bewildering. The ruler of the universe wants me, and he loves me.
So that was a clip from, if you guys don't know them, that's Worship Mob, Worship MOB. They've got all kind of stuff on YouTube. Anybody Worship Mob fans? I get a few nods of the head. They are great. But the point of that little clip was, that's what it's all about. You know, is that the ruler of the universe, the creator of everything that ever has been and ever will be, desires you more than any person ever could. That's the point. And if you want more about that, I think that Mike Bickle's work on the Song of Solomon just is hard to beat, just of understanding how God really, I mean, you think, well, no, God can't really want me that way. But I love the old hymn that says, the one who knows me best loves me most. And you can't hide anything from him, but he really wants to be with you. It's pretty amazing. And he knows, you know, like the psalmist says, he knows we're dust. He doesn't expect us to be any different than we are. And he sees us not just in the light of our past or our present, but in the light of our future in eternity. He sees what we'll become. So this is a quote from one of my spiritual fathers. The presence of God is better than sex. So Lamar Junkins said that. I thought that Sherry and Melbourne were going to be here. I
haven't heard that one.
You haven't heard that one?
No, I don't remember. Maybe I ignored it. I don't know.
Could be. But here's the thing. You know, our culture says you can't be happy unless you're married, you know, or unless you have a partner, quote, you know, and that's what's going to make you happy. I even saw, you know, I quoted my ex-wife and she said, you don't make me happy. I found a YouTube video that this was this woman singing this folk song, you know, and she says, you don't make me happy anymore, so I'm going to find me another man. It's like, it wasn't a really great song lyrically or whatever. But that's the thing. And you see people who go through, you know, because pretty much anybody that is okay can be with somebody for 2 or 3 years and be in that, quote, honeymoon phase. And then they just get tired of them and they're, oh, you don't make me happy, so that doesn't work. So anyway, so I wanted to just give you a few things from my story. And you guys we could probably be here till dawn telling your stories of encounters with God that were just amazing. But I'll give you a few of mine. In 1985, some of you were even born then. I was at a Vineyard conference. It was the first one east of the Mississippi. And I was at least passively suicidal before I went to that conference. I was having thoughts of suicide. And in that conference, the power of God fell on me, and I just kind of went out. I don't really know what happened. I don't know if it's 10 minutes or an hour and a half. I don't know. But people prayed for me, and in that moment, God healed me of just deep father issues that it was like 20 years of counseling in an hour. It was just amazing. And then I had another situation in the context of when of marital difficulties. My ex-wife had left. She had taken my youngest son with her and moved to California. And I was broken in so many ways. Well, one of those ways is financially, because you know she's not contributing anything to bills, and we still got bills, and I was just desperate. You know, I got 4 kids at home. It was bad. So I went on a personal retreat. So it was me and Jesus and the Bible and 3 days just in the middle of nowhere. And during that retreat, I was reading the Sermon on the Mount, which Lord knows I'd probably read 1,000 times. But the Lord spoke to me and said, if you will pray, if you will fast, and if you will give, I will take care of your needs, and everything that you need will be met. And just peace just overwhelmed me. And that was amazing. And there's been a number of occasions where God just showed up in power. And like I said, I'm sure you guys have had similar stories. But my favorite one so far is, it's probably been about a year ago. A friend of mine had been in a motorcycle accident and almost died. And for 9 years, one of the results was he had a bleed in his brain, and he had severe tinnitus. So that's ringing in the ears, just that roaring. And that's no fun. And it never stopped. And I'll never forget, it was me and a couple of friends praying for him in church, and I saw tears come on his face. And he told me later, he said it's the most amazing thing, that it was like just the volume on that tinnitus just turned down and then turned all the way off. And that's just priceless. Priceless stuff. So what's the one thing you have to overcome? Well, I think it's pretty obvious that you have to overcome lustful thoughts and actions. That's what you got to overcome. And it's got to be just a clean break, if you will. So how can you do that? Well, this is a verse that addresses that. Matthew 18:9. And if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you. It is better for you to enter life with one eye rather than having two eyes to be cast into hellfire. This is really graphic language. And I think when God does something like this, you ought to really pay attention. And this verse especially came home for me because I was headed towards sin. I was asleep in the middle of the night, and I flopped over in bed, and I have a nightstand right next to my bed that's wooden, and it doesn't have round corners. It has corners. And I hit my eye on the corner of that, when like the whole weight of my body, boom, on that. And I almost went to like the emergency room in the middle of the night. It was really bad. And the next day I had like a presentation I had to do, and I almost didn't go. But this verse, I didn't have my eye plucked out, but that kind of made me remember this verse. And it's so crucial. And married or single, this verse is saying you must make radical choices as to what you put before your eyes. And I would go so far as to say, if you don't make radical choices to what you put before your eyes, you're going to fall into sin. Because we are inundated. I mean, you can't even drive down the road to see road signs. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I love to watch sports. But my word, just the commercials coming on, in baseball or something. It's just crazy. You got to make radical choices to avoid that. So what are the 3 secrets? So some of you are going to be going, yep, know that, but I think here's the deal. If you apply these, it's going to make a big difference. And I'm going to talk about how to apply them as well. So the 3 secrets are make a covenant, and we're going to kind of go through these individually as well. Speak the word, and the fill in the blanks I think will come here in a minute, but you can jot these down if you want. And focus on happiness. So let's take these one at a time. So Job 31:1, it says, I have made a covenant with my eyes. Why should I look upon a young woman? And of the things that I have done to fight my tendency to have lustful thoughts or lustful actions, this is the number one thing that made a difference for me. And some of you may know Bob Sorge, may know his story, but he wrote a whole book on this principle of making a covenant with your eyes. And so, here's his book, A Covenant with My Eyes by Bob Sorge. So I highly recommend it. So that's one thing. So the second thing is speaking the word. This book of the law shall not depart out from your mouth, but you shall meditate in it day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. There's incredible power in speaking the word, in making declarations. This was, Joshua was taking over the reins. He's going to lead the people in war to take the land. And what advice? Can you imagine? You're a somewhat inexperienced military leader, and you get your marching orders from the general, and he says, speak the word. But that's what God told him to do. Meditate on the word. Another word for meditate is mutter. So just speak the word. And I'm going to give you some practical stuff on that in just a little bit. Okay, and then focus on happiness. Psalm 16:11. This is one of my all-time favorite verses. You will show me the path of life. In your presence is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. The source of ultimate pleasure is coming from the throne. That's where it is. That's Psalm 16:11. So, this is my challenge to you, to take the 60-day challenge. So, just got to throw in one more joke here. I'll kind of put it in context, but anyway. I told myself I was going to do this because I don't think we have enough laughter in church. So, anyway. I mentioned about picking my nose. Well, there's a John Wesley quote. What one generation tolerates, the next generation will embrace. And so one of my kids, I won't say which one, but they were about 5 years old. They were taking a bath. And I'm walking past the bathtub, or walking past the door, and the door's kind of ajar, and they're in there taking a bath. And one of them calls out, "Daddy, there's a hole in my honey." So, kids will say amazing things. So this challenge can kind of be the reverse of that. We want to make the next generation do better. So I sincerely believe that if you will take this 60-day challenge, that it can make a difference for you and for generations that come after you. Because what it can do is establish a habit. I can tell you, I did a similar thing. It was a 40-day challenge. I just finished up yesterday. And it was just really about speaking biblical things. Things like, I am dead to sin and I am alive to righteousness. Things like that. And I'm telling you, my circumstances haven't changed in the last 40 days, but my attitude has. And I'm happier and more effective than I was 40 days ago. So, hey, this is 60 days, so it'll be even better. So, okay. So here's the challenge. So, three things. First thing is, read this book by Sorge, A Covenant with My Eyes. And like I said, it's fairly short. It's great stuff. The second one is speak the word. And what I've got on there in the fill in the blanks, at least twice a day, say the single or married declarations. I'll let you pick which ones you should be saying. Okay. And on that note, what I did is I recorded 10 declarations for single people and 10 declarations for married people. They all are biblically based. I don't think you have any objection to any of them. And what we've done is we've put them on the app, the Canvas app. So if you want them, look on the Canvas app, and you'll see under sermons, there'll be sermons and there'll be resources, and you'll be able to find them there. Okay? And I have, for the first 10 people, I have them on jump drives. If you want it on a jump drive, and that's easier for you, I have 10 jump drives that have them on there. Okay? And so when you get those declarations, what you'll hear is, like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so you'll hear me say it once, and then you hear it, and then you say it with me the second time. So I say each one of them twice. And you all speak Southern, so you should be good. Okay. And then the last thing, focus on happiness. A practical thing for that, Randy Alcorn, he spent 3 years of his life, and if you've never heard of him, he's a great author, written tons of books, wrote the very best book on heaven there is. Yeah, as you probably well know, we're not going to just be up there, with harps and stuff. It'll be good. But he wrote a 496-page book on biblical happiness. And his conclusion was God wants us to be happy. And that there's no difference between joy and happiness. Like, joy is what we have and the world has happiness. And he's like, that's baloney. But anyway, he condensed that into this book that is 60 daily readings. They're short, they're engaging. So that's that one. Okay? All right. So I kind of added everything up, and I'm thinking it's less than 30 minutes a day. And some of you are maybe thinking, I don't have 3 minutes a day. It's up to you. But I would say if you commit to this and follow through, you'll be happier and more effective for the kingdom 60 days from now. So here's my bottom line question. Will you commit by God's grace to do the 60-day challenge? Now, you can text no up there if you want. That probably wouldn't make me feel good. But anyway, you can put yes up there. It is anonymous, and if you really want to go for it, you can put your name up there, and everybody will know that you're going for it. So that's up to you. Okay. So, yes, yay. Okay. And while you guys are doing that, and I'm kind of tethered here because I got this mic, but I have what I'd like to do for people that are committed to doing it. I've got 3 copies of each of these books, and I'll be happy to give those to you. So who wants one?
Me.
Okay. Well, boy, she's just those vineyard people. Those vineyard people, they just jump right up there. Okay. And let's see, I'll get. Oh, sorry. There you go. You're welcome. And I will put these right here. And and I'm supposed to tell you, if you don't have the Canvas app, it's awesome and you should download it right now.
I know it sounds weird, but I don't know what to do with that.
Well, do you know the app? If you got the Canvas app, you can find it on your phone there.
It's under media, it's towards media. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. It's under media. So if you go to the app, just so you go to the Canvas app, go to media at the very bottom, and the resources tab and meditations, and that's where you'll find it. So Canvas app, media, sermons, resources, and then meditations, and you'll find it there. Okay. Hey, we got a bunch of yeses. All right, and then questions. I'm not sure what that means, but maybe we can talk about that offline. Okay. No, we don't have no tests. This just says, okay.
Where do you get the 60 days of happiness?
Anywhere, Amazon.
Amazon?
Yeah.
Is it a local bookstore?
I would think so. It's probably there. Yep. 60 Days of Happiness. And I tell you, it'll rock your world when you realize that God just wants you to be happy. I mean, can you imagine if one of your kids came to you and you said, Dad, I'm sad, and you went, well, that's tough, I mean, okay, so one other practical thing, I think it helps to have something. We like to check things off. So on the back of your handout is like a checklist if you want to just kind of start the challenge and kind of check off as you do the things. And also, I'm a big tech guy, and if you want an app, there's an app. I put it on the front side. It's called Habit Bull, and it's awesome for tracking habits. Okay, so we're about to wrap up here in just a little bit. So here's how I want us to wrap up, and you guys have been great, and sorry we had some technical difficulties along the way, but it's been fun. Okay, so one last declaration, and I just want us to say this 3 times together, and then we will be done, okay? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Thank you guys so much. Hope you all have a good rest of the evening.